evening and welcome to Breaking Today News watching Switch TV. I am Lincoln Mbogo, our sign language interpreter is Teresia Washira. We have a lot in line for you, but first let's take a look at the headlines.
Sasa vijana mkiambiwa BBI ni ya Uhuru, hii pesa mnataka ikae kwa mifuko yenu ama mnataka KRA ichukue?
Do not be fooled. Rather, embrace the BBI. President Uhuru urges the youth as he presides over the launch of the Youth Fund Strategic Plan 2020-2024.
If you do referendum with elections, then the next parliament will not satisfy the requirement of gender rule.
ODM leader Raila terms the push to have a referendum alongside the general election unrealistic.
Wanangoja wakati mkasa natokea ndio wanainuka sasa kuanza kusema wanasaidia.
Residents of Mukuru Kwajenga are now living in fear of flash floods as the encroachment of the Ngong River and garbage dumping by its banks puts their lives on the line. You can now watch your favorite programs on the following platforms: Signet Zuku Channel 53 or Azam Channel 338. You can also catch our episodes on our website www.switchtv.ke, Switch TV News YouTube channel, or download the Switch TV app on Google Play Store or the App Store. Send in your feedback to our SMS line 111 444 111. On the top stories tonight, ODM leader Raila has urged the youth to embrace the BBI bill as it will solve many challenges befalling them. Raila, who was speaking today in Nairobi where he hosted youth leaders from Embu, Meru and Tharaka Nithi counties, has further urged the youth to remain united as they forge ahead towards ensuring that the country develops. Majibu Kitsao reports.
Just a day after the Constitution Amendment Bill BBI seemed to have seen light of the day, ODM leader Raila Odinga, a key champion in the BBI drive, has today met youth leaders drawn from Embu, Meru and Tharaka Nithi counties and took chance to urge them to embrace the BBI.
Walikuwa wanafikiri ya kwamba Wakenya ni wajinga, ati wao ndio wanajua kuongea na Wakenya, lakini mimi nasema Wakenya ndani yao ni werevu. Wanaweza kuja sio pale wewe unasema hii takataka yako, wanacheka tu alafu wanapigia makofi, unafikiri wako na wewe. Lakini when the critical time comes, Kenyans will make the right decision.
Raila has further urged the youth to remain united and shun tribal politics and ensure that they make huge contribution towards the development of the country.
Kenyans are moving together as one people. Hakuna Mkikuyu, hakuna Mwembu, hakuna Mmeru, hakuna Mjaluo, hakuna Mkamba, hakuna Muluhya. They are all Kenyans fighting to get rid of this inhuman system of governance. How do you, when you are living here, how do you live with your neighbors? And how do you make a contribution to make this country better than how you found it?
Raila has continued to drum up support for the BBI, which is now set to be tabled before the National Assembly and the Senate for approval before it's presented to Kenyans through a referendum. Majibu Kitsao for Switch TV.
Thank you, Majibu Kitsao. President Uhuru Kenyatta has now taken the BBI campaign trail to the Kenyan youth just a day after the 24-county Assembly's threshold was met. Speaking during the launch of the Youth Enterprise Development Fund Strategic Plan, the president urged the Kenyan youth to support the bill as it provides a tax relief to young entrepreneurs. This comes amidst criticism from a section of Kenyans. Namikene Samuel with this story.
Just a day after the Building Bridges Initiative Bill got to 24 counties threshold required by the Constitution before it gets to the chambers of the Parliament, President Uhuru Kenyatta has lauded the MCAs for what he taps as a heroic act, as he urged the youth to support the bill as it will create a conducive working environment for businesses.
We will continue to create an enabling environment in which every citizen including our young people, can harness their potential.
The president continued drumming up support for the Building Bridges initiative, claiming the tax relief holiday would help boost the young entrepreneurs.
Through the legislative aspect of BBI, we intend to provide a 7-year tax holiday for young entrepreneurs like you.
This comes amidst a heated debate from Kenyans on how and why the MCAs were coerced into voting for the bill. On Twitter, NARC Kenya Party leader Martha Karua says the elected leaders and civil servants drumming support for BBI are less than 3,000, while Kenyan voters are over 19 million. We must reject intimidation and fear-mongering and exercise judgment.
Uhuru Kenyatta ishakuwa mzuri sana, tushapitisha BBI. Sasa tunataka kampeni.
Hiyo kitu ripoti wakati imeandikwa, tungeletewa vitabu, serikali iandike watu wa kwenda kusomesha watu kuhusu hii katiba. Ndio mtu akiulizwa una support hii report, utakuwa unajua ni kitu gani una support.
Elgeyo Marakwet Kipchumba Murkomen tweeted, "Why are BBI promoters excited and overjoyed when you are running on your own? How are you celebrating that you won?"
Ile morali nilikuwa nayo ilinionyesha mbele. Nimeona sasa baba kuna nafasi kubwa sana kuwini nini BBI. Wakienda referendum naona kama kuna nafasi kubwa. Na tena kuna nafasi kuingia president ya 2022.
The head of state spoke today at Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani, where he unveiled the 750 winners of the Mbele na Biz business plan competition and launched the 2020 to 2024 Youth Enterprise Development Fund strategic plan.
It is now not a question of if, but when the Building Bridges Initiative referendum question will be formed and vote taken. Namkana Samuel, Switch TV, Kibra, Nairobi.
Thank you, Namukane Samuel. Moving on, counties that have passed the BBI bill are now 41 after Kericho, Turkana and Wajir counties approved the bill today. Kanyeru Alex with the full story.
It was a less busy day for BBI compared to yesterday, as 3 more counties voted yes for the bill, raising the number of counties that have approved the bill to 41. Turkana, Kericho and Wajir are the latest counties to debate and approve the bill today. Siaya County was the first assembly to approve the bill, which has now been approved by over 24 counties, the number required by the law to send the bill to the next stage, which is Parliament. Counties that were perceived to be pro-Ruto, especially those from Mount Kenya region and the Rift Valley region, passed the bill, among them being Nyeri, Kiambu, Murang'a, Bomet and West Pokot. Other counties that have passed the bill are Kisumu, Nairobi, Mombasa, Lamu, Kwale, Nyamira, Samburu and Tana River. So far, only one county has rejected the bill, Baringo County. 5 more counties are yet to debate on the bill, which are Uasin Gishu, Elgeyo Marakwet, Nandi, Kilifi and Mandera. For Switch TV, my name is Kanyaru Alex.
Thank you, Kanyaru Alex. Elsewhere, the constitutional amendment BBI bill has achieved the minimum 24 counties needed to take it to a referendum and is expected to be introduced in Parliament without delay. Even if both houses reject the bill, it may not hinder the country from having a referendum. Joel Chacha with his story.
With over 24 counties passing the draft bill, the speakers of the county assemblies are to deliver a copy of the draft bill jointly to the speakers of the 2 houses of parliament with the certificate that the county assembly has approved it. It's no imagine that even if those against the report will counter it and shoot it down in both houses, it may not hold the country back from proceeding to a referendum.
Well, if either of the houses or both turn down the bill, it will still proceed to the president, who, in his wisdom, as guided by the Attorney General, will determine whether to forward it to the IEBC for a referendum or assent to it if it's not offending the 10 protected provisions in the current constitution. So really, what we are going to have in the National Assembly and the Senate is just a debate on the bill, but otherwise nothing consequential can come out of it now.
With a 5-judge bench 3 weeks ago barring the IBC for moving the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020 to a referendum until the case against it is heard and determined, Mudhura Karera says it may not be a hurdle in the whole BBI process.
I can assure you that enough is being done to ensure that we have a referendum. And that referendum will be conducted by the IEBC. And I can assure you the IEBC that's going to conduct the referendum is the very same one we've been saying is depleted, or is a skeleton, or is a shell.
If the BBI says through in the referendum, Deputy President William Ruto seems to be the man who will be thrown under the bus, and his presidential aspirations may suffer a blow.
BBI's win will be a win for Raila, because nobody wants to go into a general election having lost a previous election, not even a by-election. So the referendum is going to be a confirmation that Raila is still popular with the people, and it's going to challenge Ruto's position that he has gathered sufficient clout.
Meanwhile, Baringo County Assembly has been held for rejecting the bill.
It really reflected a true democracy, because that is what democracy is. The will of the people was represented in the floor of the House in the Assembly.
So far, pro-Ruto counties pulled a surprise outcome in the Super Tuesday after they passed the Building Bridges Initiative bill, despite being regarded as Deputy President William Ruto's stronghold. Joel Chacha, Switch TV, Nairobi.
Thank you, Joel Chacha. Maendeleo Chapter Party leader and Machakos Governor Dr. Alfred Mutua has urged those opposed the BBI bill to stop misleading Kenyans. Speaking during a development tour of Mwala Sub-County, Mutua said the constitution is not being replaced, as a section of leaders have been telling Kenyans. He has urged the remaining counties to pass the bill so that it can be forwarded to Mwananchi for voting.
Zimeorodhesha na kupitisha mswada wa BBI. Kukasema mswada huu, hii bili hii isonge mbele ndio rudi kwa mwananchi apige kura. Kumekuwa na porojo na uongo mwingi sana kuliko BBI. Na mimi nataka wananchi mfahamu ya kwamba kuna uongo, nataka kuzindua uongo 3. Nataka kuwaelimisha. Jambo la kwanza, mnadanganywa ya kwamba eti tunabadilisha katiba. Hatubadilishi katiba. Ile katiba ipo, itakuwepo. Hii ni kuongezea vipengele tu kwa katiba iliyopo. Ni kama kutengeneza gari. Unakuta ya kwamba pengine uko na gari ambayo gurudumu lake linafanya hivi, linasonga hivi, linaharibika. Unapeleka kwa mechanic, anakuwekea gurudumu mpya ama anafanya alignment. Hiyo ndio tunafanya kwa katiba. Tuibadilishi, tunatengeneza tu. Unakuta gari yako iko na mataa mawili lakini unataka kuongeza taa nyingine ndio uweze kumulika vizuri. Hiyo ndio tunafanya.
Meanwhile, residents of Mukuru kwa Njenga are now living in fear of floods as the weatherman warns of approaching rains. And as David Kagina narrates, the Ngong River, whose banks are being encroached and its flow being interrupted by heaps of garbage, poses a potential threat, and residents are now pleading with the National Environmental Management Authority, NEMA, to take action before it's too late.
On the mention of a river, what comes to mind is a gushing stream of clean water. But for residents of Mukuru kwa Njenga, this is only on paper. In their neighborhood, this free-flowing sludge with a strong stench is what is left of Ngong River. The seemingly clean river from the source passes through Kibera slum industrial area, Mukuru Kayaba, before getting here, and the effluent discharged into it has robbed it its glory. From the design of the bridge, it is clear that by the time of its construction, Ngong River was one to reckon.
Watu wamesukuma mchanga, mto imekuwa ndogo. Wakati kunakuwa na mvua kidogo pande ya juu, maji inakuwa haipiti hapa. Na hizi plastic zote ambazo unaona ziko hapa na hii maji chafu, ni kumaanisha zile industries ambazo ziko hapa karibu zinatumia huu mto kama dumping.
Over time, however, its banks are being encroached by people seeking to create an informal settlement, and the short footbridge being used here in comparison to the iconic one above, which crosses a railway line, is a clear demonstration of just how much of the riverbank has gone to personal use.
NEMA inaelewa. Nafikiria NEMA wanajua, sababu ukiangalia mahali imewekwa asieti ni mahali imefichwa ionekani. Mto imeweza kufunikwa yote na ile mchanga nyingine imefanywa dumping. Watu wamefanya dumping, hiyo mchanga imekuja juu kabisa, na kuna zile nyumba ambazo zimeweza kujengwa pale.
The garbage collected along the river path is dumped here, and the stench emanating from here is unbearable. However, the residents' greatest fear is the rainy season. After losing 2 residents to floods last year, they fear the impact may be worse this time.
Vile tunaongea leo hivi, naogopea ile mvua sasa naona ikinyesha, huenda ikawa kesho kutwa ama leo usiku, anytime mnaweza sikia hadhara kubwa zaidi kwa hii area ya Southern Pakazi ikishikana pamoja na area Sinai.
Maji inamaliza watu na hata mambo ya mazingira sio safi. Watu wanaruhusiwa kuja kujaga kwa mto na watu wanaangaliwa tu, hakuna hatua ambayo inachukuliwa. So wanangoja wakati mkasa unatokea ndio wanainuka sasa kuanza kusema wanasaidia. Hapa hakuna kusaidia.
The residents' cry here is for the bodies concerned with the preservation of environment to swing into action before it's too late. David Kagina, Switch TV, Nairobi.
With David Kagina's story, we now take a short commercial break. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more. Welcome back and thank you for keeping it Switch TV, sending your feedback to our SMS line 111 and Switch TV Kenya in Lincoln, Wimbugo. The clinical officers' strike was suspended and healthcare workers are expected to resume work after a court order raising questions whether their demands were met, or better yet, what changed and what the move means for the healthcare sector. Our reporter Harriet Chimer interviews the chairperson of the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, KUCO, Peterson Washira.
Joined by Peterson Washira, the chairman of the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, as we have a discussion on the healthcare system in Kenya. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Harriet, and thanks for having me.
Okay, so what does this mean for the healthcare system after the strike suspension?
I think let me start by saying that we are not going back to work because we are very happy. We are going back to work because the court has seen it fit for us to go back to work. But the reasons that made us walk out of work have not actually been resolved. We walked out of the working environment because it was unsafe for ourselves. But now that we have been taken back by the court, because we said that we are a law-abiding union, if the court says that, then we have no option but to go back. But we shall not deliver services if not provided with the right and appropriate protective equipment to be able to do that in a safe environment.
Okay, and were some demands met?
So far, for the Ministry of Health, We signed on 1st of January this year. I think the public so has come out, and I remember the CS saying that we were giving Kenyans a New Year's gift. And we agreed on a return to work formula, which is basically a framework towards remedying that now unsafe environment, so that the medics, they can have a conducive working environment when they are fighting this scourge. And for the Ministry of Health, we are seeing that. We have even seen that they have improved, even with the protective equipment, the PPEs. I have not had a lot of outcry from the members, and I know from the few points that I've checked that they're actually providing. For the 47 county governments as we sit here, for any clinic officer who was employed after 2013, after devolution, for any clinic officer who is on contract, they do not benefit from that medical cover. They do not benefit from the group life, which compensates one once they die. So the same problem we had, and now you know that Corona is coming back, COVID, we are going into the third wave, and you don't know how it will be. In the next about 3 weeks, you will not get a bed in any ICU in this country. I can assure you of that. They're already filling up.
Okay, and now the strike has been recurrent on and off again and all the time. And so where could the core issue be?
The biggest problem with the health sector is the way it is managed. I know sometimes people do not want to talk about it because they don't want to sound political. But until we as Kenyans, we become sincere with ourselves and say the truth, politicization of the health sector was the biggest undoing. Kenyans, being responsible citizens, should also ask questions. They should ask that we are amending the constitution because we have seen challenges, be it the challenges in the judiciary, we want an ombudsman, be it the challenges in the political discourse, we want to add some seats. But what about the health sector, where we as Kenyans have suffered over the past 7-8 years? What is the solution we are providing in BBI for the health sector? That is a very valid question that every Kenyan should be able to ask their leaders, from the MCA to the president, because we elected them so that they can go and facilitate us to get the rights that we gave ourselves under the Constitution. If they do not do that, we must realize that we are the people who hold the power, and we must take them to account to tell us how they have facilitated us to be able to access that right.
Okay, there you've heard it from the chairman of KUKO. It is high time that something changes in the healthcare system for a better tomorrow.
All right, it's time to be in the know on the latest from the world of business. Good evening. My name is Cliff Fondobi. January 1st, 2021 marked the implementation of the Africa Free Continental Area, which requires members to remove tariffs from 90% of goods, allowing free access to commodities, goods and services across the continent. In the Kenyan context, what do our SMEs stand to benefit from it? Do they understand the protocols required in accessing the markets? And with the geopolitics that shape the African narrative, how will Kenya benefit from these agreements? I spoke to the Chief Operations Officer, Invest in Africa, Terry Kinyo. Africa Continental Free Trade Area is the strategic framework for delivering on Africa's goal for inclusive and sustainable development, and is a concrete manifestation of the Pan-Africa drive. In the Kenyan context, SMEs have a large part to play in order to ensure that they maximize selling their products to various destinations across the continent.
SMEs will benefit from the agreement for as much as they can access the market, which intermediaries like Invest in Africa, among others, we are able to put them together in a group and have a collective, coordinated way to access the markets, as much as they have access to the skills required to achieve the standards.
Kenya is ranked position 23rd among 47 countries in the sub-Saharan Africa region, and its overall score approximately equal to the regional average and well below the world average. Africa Free Continental Trade Area can be pivotal in growing the economy exponentially.
If we really leverage the opportunity and make sure we are prioritizing industrialization and especially lifting our manufacturing sector, we could push this growth to 25%.
Now with the Continental Trade Agreement in place, Africa geopolitics can be a stumbling block to its implementation.
No, this is the largest trade area. So even it's a powerful bloc. If we were to unite and negotiate anything as a bloc, because we have been negotiating one-on-one with China, with other countries in the north, if we were to unite and negotiate as one, it's a very powerful bloc. So that should interest me as Kenya to be able to step in and mediate when there's a chance to do that for other countries.
The trade agreement will provide a huge potential for businesses involved in cross-border trade and will access Africa with a population of 1.2 billion with a combined market worth $2.5 trillion US dollars, according to the African Union. Reporting for Switch TV, I'm Clifford Ndubi. All right, and away from that, in curbing boundary conflicts as well as cattle rustling in the pastoral counties, over 12 counties met in Machakos Hotel to deliberate on the way forward, where they agreed that land registration was the key to solving land tussles. Addressing the media, 4 CECs drawn from Isiolo, Samburu, Baringo and Marsabit counties, and land registration will assist in reducing clashes in their counties, as residents will know their boundaries, unlike in the previous where they didn't know. Frontier Counties Development Council Chairperson Kalumo Bulo said that all the 12 counties have given the land which should be registered according to the law, as they are now taking stock of the parcels.
What we are doing here is very important and very helpful for the communities. Now we are registering the community as a block, and the land is a block, and the community has membership and they have their leadership. So in that case, a few people cannot be able to sell that community land anymore. It is community affair. They have a common title deed, so it is not. So those are the things that we are trying to mitigate.
There are no clear boundaries, which actually creates a lot of conflicts. And also, once the land is registered, we can now control the grazing areas. And once the grazing areas are controlled, it avoids things like cat rustling.
So we're looking at a community in the best definition of that community as also provided for in the law.
Now, finally, European Union has granted the Water Sector Trust Fund 6.5 billion shillings to finance water projects across the country. While confirming these funds, Chief Executive Officer Mr. Ismail Fami Shaiye said that the fund will be distributed to different water projects in the country, prioritizing projects in places facing acute water shortage. Brian Mwenda has filed this story.
Speaking in Bamba ward of Ganze constituency, Kilifi Governor Amason Jeffa Kingi launched a 100 million water pipeline project to run from Bamba to Shingaro within the ward. He was accompanied by Shiaye, who is the Chief Executive Officer from the Water Sector Trust Fund. The projects are being implemented in conjunction with county governments, where the fund will cater for 87%, while county governments will cater for 13%.
Tumeaminiwa na World Bank through our government to give 6.5 billion to all the water companies in Kenya, which Kilifi and Malindi are actually eligible, and we have already signed the agreement.
In Kilifi County, the Trust Fund will distribute a total of 145 million shillings to the Kilifi Mariakani Water and Sewerage Company, and the Malindi Water and Sewerage Company will receive 45 million shillings to implement the Bamba, Shingaro and Marereni water project in Ganze and Magarini respectively.
Mradi ambao unafanyika kwa ufadhili wa county government ambayo inafund 13% of the project cost, halafu Water Service Trust Fund wanafund 87%. Kusema kweli, huu ni mradi ambao wananchi wanaoishi huku sehemu hii ya Bamba, Marapera, Mitangani, Midoina mpaka Shirango wametamani sana.
Water has been a major concern in the country and more so in schools, and these efforts come right in time for the county residents who heavily depend on rainwater. Brian Mwenda, Switch TV.
From Brian Mwenda, we come to the end of business news this particular Wednesday. Tomorrow, same time, same place. Let's meet here for the latest again from the world of business. Up next is sports news. Remember, the Champions League night continues. The Europa League night kicks off this day, where Tottenham Hotspur will be playing. Athletics Kenya seem to be facing a major challenge in executing its mandate, and Lincoln Wambugu will be having an in-depth to that story.
Thank you, Clifford. Now from the sports desk. Kenya Athletics governing body Athletics Kenya has today said they will not allow Kenyan athletes to participate in the Kilimanjaro Marathon set for 28th February. Athletics Kenya cited the outbreak and spread of COVID-19 as the main reason behind their decision. This comes at a time when the president